So are you looking to escape the 9 to 5 grind every single day and build your own business on Amazon? Or perhaps you still want to do the 9 to 5 grind and you want the Amazon business from the 5 to 9. Wait, no, the 5 to 12, whatever that was. So you want to stay tuned and watch the rest of this because we have the Goaty himself, Matt Atkins. Matt, welcome, man. How are you?
I am so good, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Totally, totally. So, Matt, we're no strangers. We've met before, right? We've worked together before. We've been in the trenches together as a sales growth strategist, specialist, whatever kind of fancy words they want to call salespeople nowadays. We were doing the dang thing at Canopy, and you left for a little bit, and then you came back. So, how's it been going?
So good, man. Yeah, I kind of went a couple places. I started at Canopy back in 2020. I think you came about 6 months later, something like that. And I was there for, I don't know, about a year and a half, 2 years. And then I made a move because like I'm a brand builder at heart. We were just talking about this before we hit the record button. Like I've been building brands since 2012. So when I started working in this agency space, it was really to get a peek behind the curtain of what it was like to manage a seven-figure brand. And I did that for the first couple of years. Like part of our sales process at Canopy that you and I were part of, I mean, we get to analyze brands. So we got to see, how are they doing in terms of advertising? How are they compared to their competitors? We have a lot more data now to use in those analysis than we did back, 3, 4 years ago. But like so that was the whole reason why I got into this agency space to begin with. It was kind of just to be a mole and a fly on the wall on some of these conversations with these bigger brands. And when I moved away from Canopy, it was really I wanted to get my hands dirty again. Like I had my own brands, but like I wanted to be part of building brands in this service provider space. So yeah, came back to Canopy about 7, 8 months ago. I love everybody at Canopy. I love the brands that we work with. So yeah, it's been quite the whirlwind the last 4 years.
Hang tight real quick. Let me just get Brian Burt on the phone here. Brian, you said he's the mole? He said he's the mole. You said Pip? No, I'm just kidding. So no, that's awesome, man. And I know you had brands before, and you're going into a new thing now, which we'll talk about in a little bit, real high level, but really kind of tell people what it's like back when you first did brands and what the landscape is now, because a lot of people don't realize that, Amazon is not passive income sitting on the beach with a laptop, sipping a Mai Tai, watching the waves go by, right? So
Mhm.
what was it like in the heyday a little bit, right? I say heyday, we're talking about even a couple of years ago. And then what's it like now where you can't really, so long are the days of getting garlic presses for 69 cents on Alibaba and slapping a label on it. So what does it look like for you now?
Yeah, so I came in kind of at the tail end of the gold rush. I started selling in 2017 and there were still those Lambo boys on YouTube. I was able to kind of sift through that noise right out of the gate. And I've been like I said, I've been a brand builder. My first business was off of Amazon. It was e-commerce, but like I knew that there wasn't such a thing as passive income or like a get rich quick kind of a thing. So I didn't come into this game expecting that. I came into this expecting it to be a real business. Things were a lot different even in 2017 though. A lot more challenging than it is today. It wasn't you could throw up a garlic press and make $1 million. But that's kind of how I started, to be honest. For me, I was stuck in analysis paralysis and choosing a product for over a year. And when I finally chose what to go with, it was just really just to kind of get off the pot and actually start doing the thing, which I learned more in that first 2 or 3 months than I did in the previous year and a half that I was stuck even choosing a product. So I mean it was a lot easier back then, in 2017, in terms of ranking, and competitors weren't the same as they are now. I think that the platform has matured a lot even since 2017, and I'm not an OG in this space, but it's changed a lot. And in my opinion, it's changed in ways that it had to. I mean, it's matured and the consumers have matured on the platform. What's changed for the most part that's a lot different now than it was back then is that these Chinese manufacturers selling direct are causing, I don't want to say problems because there's always, I mean, challenges, I guess is a better way to put it. Like it changes the landscape in a lot of these categories, and that's different than it was back in 2017. I feel like it was a lot more of a level playing field. There weren't really a lot of SKUs that you would see launch and then have 500 reviews the next day, which you see a lot of now. So I think it's matured in some ways that make it easier for sellers that are actually treating this like a real business and growing a brand. It's made it a lot more challenging for those people that are just trying to sell products. And I think that the people that are just trying to sell products and that's how they see this, they're not going to be able to compete with the Chinese manufacturers. And I mean, playing that race to the bottom game isn't a fun game to play. It's not one that I want to play. And I feel like that's what's going to happen to a lot of these people that aren't treating this like an actual business nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people used to do commoditized products, the garlic presses, the milk frothers, the pineapple core and stuff like that. But it is truly a race to the bottom. But even the manufacturers in China directly that are doing this, they're picking up on branding. It used to be they
Mhm.
only beat you on price, but now they're doing brand story module, they're doing A+ content, they're doing all this other kind of stuff. So a good thing is like, what kind of tools are you using when you're looking for new products, right? Like, what is your tech stack when it comes to finding new opportunities, fleshing them out and then kind of iterating over and over again? Like, what do you typically use?
So I don't even bring a tech stack into the equation. As a matter of fact, we just went through this process. So we were the brands that I had launched back in 2020, those have kind of fizzled out because of a partnership that didn't really work out. And we're actually getting ready to launch a new brand with a new partner, super excited about it. But for me, I don't bring a tech stack into the equation until I know the person who I want to sell products to. Like that's how I start. Like I don't start with any of these product research tools using filters because I've actually been a coach in this space for a couple of years and I see what the results of that is. You get 10,000 people watching the same YouTube video that tell you to use the same tool and the same filters. I had students, like 20 different students came to me with the same product ideas because they did that model. So for me, how I've learned to build brands over the years is I have a person that I'm launching products to that I'm either enhancing their life or solving problems for with physical products. And so I choose the person far before I choose the product. And once I have the person, and it's a very specific person. It isn't just a camper, but it's a dad that takes his kids camping 3 times a month, or a guy that's out checking his brisket at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like my consumers aren't just the barbecuers. Like that's not who I'm selling to. I'm selling to a very specific person. So when I'm launching a new product, I pick the person first. Then I list all of the products that that person buys, and then I look for ways to differentiate those products. By then I bring in my tech stack and I look at reviews and I look to see what's the overall sales volume in the category. But I choose my person far before I choose my product.
That's interesting. And most people don't do that. Most people will look at what's selling and how can I sell those. And then the market gets saturated with iPhone cases, battery banks, power banks, pineapple cores, all kind of nonsensical things that, and sorry if anyone sells of anyone that makes $1 billion doing it, but when you have a product and you have an ICP or an avatar or demographic and you're solving a problem and it's a need, not a want. If you can target that customer specifically and it's not a want to have, but it's I need to have this product to live a better life, save better time, save more money, affect my person, all those kind of, heartstrings that you're pulling on. If you can do those, and typically I've seen people do that in pet category, baby category, because, I have kids and I have pets, and, my wife will spend any kind of budget when it comes to kids and pets. But for me, so then she starts to bargain shop. When it comes to me, it's a bargain deal, right? But for the kids and the pets, there's no kind of limit for that kind of stuff, right? So now, I get it. So it makes sense. You did start off with the person, the problem first. But then when you get to the tech stack, right? Are you a Helium 10 or Jungle Scout guy? Are you using Smart Scout? What's your typical go-to? And then a lot of people, they'll tell me, especially I came from the agency space, Canopy, my Amazon guy, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people we recommend, Helium 10 or Jungle Scout. Oh, I don't want to pay for that. I don't want to pay for that. That's super expensive. I'm spending all my money on inventory and ads and stuff like that. Is it worth it to do that for the tech stack once you figure it out? Or can you kind of wing it?
So, I mean, I think that you need to have some sort of technology. And actually, I probably have 4 or 5 softwares that I pay for. And I don't even, I do look at my subscriptions every couple months to make sure I'm not paying for something that I don't use. But there's certain softwares that, in my opinion, are a cost of doing business. I've used Helium 10 for since the very beginning, before I even launched my first product. And there's a lot of things that I like about Helium 10. I know that there's a lot of noise about, how valid is the data, and Jungle Scout is a little bit more, and there's still, but for me it's a familiarity thing. And I use Helium 10 for a lot of different things, like just the follow-up tool that sends emails to customers that make a purchase, and inventory forecasting, and like there's enough that it does on the back end of my business that I would never even think about getting rid of Helium 10 as an overall expense. However, I use Cerebro and the X-Ray Chrome extension daily. I mean, not just in my own business, but also before I get on a sales call. Like I want to know as much about that brand as I can. So I look to see what all their SKUs are. I look to see a couple of their, their keywords that are in their title. And
Cerebro, yeah, Cerebro is fantastic, man, because just like you, when I was getting on sales calls, I want to see where are you ranking for keywords
Mhm.
organically, where are you ranking for keywords that are paid and sponsored? Because I would do that kind of litmus test where it's like, if this is an important keyword for you and you're ranking for paid, but you're not ranking organically, there's something that's missing. But if this
Yep.
is not an important keyword for you, but you're paying to be there, why are we paying to be there? Right.
And
So
it's
it's,
taking up space in your title too. Like if it's
yep.
taking up space in your title and it's not an important keyword for you, why? And why are you spending money on it? So there's a lot you can learn from that. But in terms of when I bring a tech stack into my product research, it's after I know the person and after I have that list of products, then I bring in my tech stack. And there's really only a couple of things. Like, so, if you were to watch a YouTube video on product research, they're going to tell you to use black box in Helium 10. I don't know what Jungle Scout's version of that is, but use all these filters and here's what you want to see. Like for me, the only things that I care about is there enough demand? Meaning, are there 6 or 7 keywords that have over 1,000 searches a month? I want to see a couple that have five figure searches a month. Is there enough demand? And the only other thing that for me checks the box that I have to check is there one brand that has 80% of the market share? Then that's going to be an uphill climb. But then also, is Amazon one of the top competitors? And if that's the case, I don't, those are really the only big red flags for me. Like in terms of competition, like that's one of the big red flags for a lot of people. Like the way that I build brands, the cheap Chinese manufacturers aren't my competitors. Like I'm not competing against the $7 barbecue glove. Like I'm competing against, and really it's a competition of one, because all of my products are higher end, but it's because I put a lot of emphasis on brand building and community building. And those people, because I interact with them and they're part of our audience, they'll pay $6 or $7 more for our products. Like, and it's not even a question for them. So like I don't subscribe to, is there 5 competitors that have over 5,000 reviews? And if so, stay out of that category, because I know that I can compete with the way that I build brands.
Yeah. And then talk me through like, okay, you got the product, you validated it, you're gonna go with it. Couple things, right? How are you picking brand name? How are you picking manufacturing facility? And then what is your go-to for creative and building out like A plus content and stuff like that?
So I'm actually going through this right now with that new brand. So I'll start from the top, like the brand name. With the one thing that has changed since the last time I launched a new brand is AI, and I use some sort of large language model at least 5 or 6 times a day. And like what I love about ChatGPT, and I use other tools like copywriting. I don't necessarily use ChatGPT a whole lot anymore, but what I do love ChatGPT for, and I feel like it's the best of the large language models, is like consumer research and understanding who your avatar is based on a couple of data points that you know. So that's kind of how I've approached the naming of this brand. I mean, a big thing obviously is that, first of all, the domain name has to be available, but then all the socials as well. So that's where you have to start, and that's actually part of my prompt that I use in the large language models. Is I need to be able to have all of the socials. So make sure that the name is unique in some sort of way.
You ever seen the website Name Checker?
Name checker.
It's Name Checker, and I think it's missing the vowels when you spell it. But basically, you type in a brand name, and that website crawls all the socials, all the .coms, and tells you this is available here, it's not available here.
Ooh,
So you can type a
no.
brand. I'll put that in the comments below too, but and I'll send it to you, Matt. But it's like you type it in, and then it's like you can like ideate, like iterate over and over again about like, okay, maybe I want to call it, Johnny's Apples, right? Oh, Johnny's Apples is free on Facebook, but not on YouTube and Twitter, right? And
Man, do you know how much
Johnny
time that's going
Apples,
to save me?
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's a,
awesome.
and then you mentioned too, like two things, and I talk about AI a lot too. One is using ChatGPT. So as an LLM, I've publicly abandoned ChatGPT because I use it a lot for LinkedIn, for SEO, for copywriting, and I've adopted Claude. Have you used Claude before?
Hmm.
So Claude actually got like a large investment, which is Anthropic from Amazon,
Hmm.
which instilled in me a little bit more like this is going somewhere. And it's just the amount of tokens, the amount, like I think you can load the entire Great Gatsby novel
Wow.
into one prompt, right? So it just spits out something that doesn't sound Chat GPT
Yeah.
AI. But the other thing is I just started playing with this new one, Perplexity. Have you seen that?
So it's been a while since I've played with it, and I certainly have seen it before, but I don't remember what specifically it is.
So it's like an AI search engine. So basically you type something in that says like, I want to make a brand name for a new light panel switch and make sure it has, the word electro in it. And then it'll
Hmm.
crawl websites and consumer research and it'll crawl all these different, and it sources every single place that it goes to on the web in real time. And then you could ask it over and over to fine tooth comb all that kind of stuff. But it even has like an academia mode where you can say like, I'm not looking for, fiction. I only want nonfiction stuff that was written by scholars, journalists, professionals
Wow.
about quantum physics in the third realm or something like that, right? So that's really where you can take all of your consumer research and then for data wise and then kind of pair it with AI. But going into consumer research, you knew this question was coming. Have you used PickFu before?
Yes. And actually, so I have a couple buddies of mine. We get together every week and we've been doing it for about 3 years. Kind of nerd out on our businesses. We've turned it into a podcast and kind of starting a mentorship program around it. But we use it. We actually just recently used it. And I'll give you an example of something that we used it for. One of my buddies has a sales page that he created for a giveaway. He partnered with another brand that he does a monthly giveaway. He built a huge email list. He has a really cool post-purchase process on Amazon that gets people on his email list, and then he does a giveaway every month. I think it's $1,000 worth of product that he gives away, and he does a lot of partnerships with other brands that are kind of tangentially the same or in the same category. And there was a sales page that we all kind of built together as a little bit of a case study, and we were so happy with it. And we just pick food it yesterday, and the results were like each one of us had a little different piece of our ego hurt because I mean they did not like it at all. Like the audience were talking about like it's looks scammy. I would never give my email address to this company. Like the website, it looks like it was made from a VA on Fiverr, and like we were like, oh, we need to go back to the drawing board. So yeah, so we use PickFu in a lot of ways. Like I love it also for, I mean, obviously main images is what a lot of people use it for, but I think there's a lot of uses of PickFu that a lot of people don't know. Like I had a long conversation with John, and that's actually what gave us the idea to use PickFu to test that sales page. So yes, we love PickFu and we use it a lot.
I was settling a bet with someone the other day, and they were telling me that Bud Light is better than Miller Lite. And I said, okay, let's see. And I pick food it. And sure enough, Miller Lite won because you could drill down 90 different characteristics and traits to who we're talking about. But
Yeah.
like you said, talking about main image, a lot of people just focus on the main image only. We're
Mhm.
doing main image. We're doing main image stack. We're doing lifestyle photos. We're talking about pricing. We're talking about product iteration, ideation, right? Is this a good product? You can load a URL to your competitors and ask the audience that are prime shoppers in your demographic, what do you like about this? What do you don't like about this? And then people could tell you, I don't like that it's this color, and I don't like that it's this size, or I don't like it that it's this shape. So you can test before you invest because there's
Yep.
nothing worse than buying a 20-foot container of something, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I should have gone for a different color. I should have
Hmm.
not gone for the yellow option, right? And that's a lot of times I tell people before you do a color variation for anything, you got to pick for it because this you probably see this as well as I have. When you have a product, I'm just gonna say ice cream scoop. I just go with ice cream scoop a lot. It's just so easy to pull from the side. Again, no knocks if someone's out there selling ice cream scoops. You guys are making millions.
Mhm.
But you'll have the black is pretty much the industry's best seller, right? And then if you have the blue, the red, the pink, the orange and the pink and the yellow might not be the best seller. So often what you'll see is, tell me if you've seen this before, where let's say the black is 19.99, but then you'll see the yellow and the pink 14.99.
Mhm.
And why is
Definitely.
that? Right? Because they're lowering the price because they can't move the inventory and they
Mhm.
want to get rid of it. And I can't tell you, I don't have it on me right now, but you ever see those like um scrapers, like where you scrape gum off floors and stuff like that,
Yep.
or that's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like sticky or sap? I was literally buying one on Amazon. They wanted 15.99 for the black one. The hot pink one was 9.99. I didn't give a rat's, you know
Mm-mm.
what color it was. If it's pink, it still works the exact same. So I saved $5
Mhm.
by buying the pink one. But that brand and that company, you could tell that's a loss for them, and they're just looking to move it, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, talk to me a little bit more about. Okay, we're talking about brand name, we're talking about all that kind of good stuff. When you're sourcing, what makes you go? Are you immediately overseas, or do you even contemplate North America?
So I have been historically because Alibaba is the path of least resistance. It's the easiest. You can find manufacturers in a couple of minutes. You can reach out to 20 in the span of, 10, 15 minutes. So I've always used the path of least resistance. But for me and what I've learned, COVID opened up my eyes to a lot of things. And one of the things that it opened up my eyes to is that if you're solely reliant on China, for example, for all of your products, and something like COVID happened, and it doesn't even have to be that extreme. Like even the change of president, or tariffs, or someone gets mad at someone and there's more tariffs, like that. That to me is having all of your eggs in that basket is super scary. And for a lot of people, there were a lot of businesses, that e-commerce businesses, that should have been very successful in during COVID times because of the demand, but couldn't afford to get their product from China. And that's actually, I fell into that category with a product that we had just launched. We had just launched a glass meal prep container that shipping went up 20x, and it didn't make any sense anymore for us to even launch that product. So
When you have that product, you can't source it from China anymore because everything went up 20x or whatever it is. Do you then pivot and even take a look at something like Mexico, which has been said to be an up and coming Chinese replacement, as much as it probably won't be, but it's definitely more cost effective than US or Canada. Have you looked at Mexico?
So we hadn't yet at that time. I have since. And Mexico, what I've learned is that, there's a lot of, Fortune 50 companies that have invested a lot of money into manufacturing in Mexico. So, there's a lot of obviously factors that make Mexico very attractive, like shipping times and no tariff. There's a free trade agreement. Lots of things that make it attractive. But my view back in 2021, when we were dealing with those challenges, was there's only like two or three raw materials that you can source in Mexico, and it wasn't anything that I was selling. It was certainly something that I wanted to look into, but like in back then I thought, like, leather and wood, those are the only two things that you can source in Mexico, and none of my products would work on either one of those two materials. But what I've learned since is that Mexico has a lot more capabilities than that. Amy Weiss does a trip. Actually, I don't know if she's doing it anymore, but I wanted to go this last year, but it's basically a little tiny Canton Fair in Mexico that she put together the last 3 or 4 years. And what I've learned through her experiences, because she documents all of that, is that they have a lot more capabilities than I thought. So with this new product that we're getting ready to launch, we're actually looking at places like Mexico, and Costa Rica is actually very similar. Costa Rica, and my new business partner, I don't know why this is, and I still have to look into it a little more. So don't quote me on this, but my business partner told me that if you have a product made in Costa Rica, you can say that it's made in the USA. I don't necessarily understand that, but what I learned from him is that Costa Rica is also an up and coming country that can handle certain things in terms of manufacturing. So
Is it because Costa Rica is like a like a Puerto Rico? Is it kind of
I
like
don't
it's
think that it is. Like I don't know. Like I really want to dig into it a little bit more. Like right now, we're not ready for that part yet with our first product with this new brand, because we're still kind of in the prototype and, you know, getting CAD drawings made of it. So but it's certainly something that I'm going to be paying attention to with this very first product. But I mean, for the people watching this, like I've learned, and I don't know how many people are in the same boat. Mexico has a lot more capabilities than you realize, and I think it's a lot more viable of a country to source products than a lot of sellers even understand.
And I think that that's super good information, especially because sometimes there's a huge, even though China has great pricing, tons of stuff, you know, innovation, all this kind of good stuff, you often find that you have to get a good broker when you source in China, because sometimes a lot of stuff gets lost in translation,
Yeah.
versus someplace like Mexico, where lots of people in the US speak Spanish anyway, right? So I think
Hmm.
that there's less friction, easier barrier of entry, kind of like you said before, with something like Mexico for sure. But let me ask you this too. So when you're building out your pages, what are your thoughts on premium A plus versus standard A plus? I ask everyone this. I have a very polarizing opinion on it, but there's a reason why I say that. But what are your thoughts on premium versus standard?
I mean, there's some things in Premium A Plus that you can do. You know, comparison charts is a big, you know, and the shoppable piece to it. But like, I haven't seen a compelling example of why I need to put time and effort into Premium A Plus content over what we do with our regular A Plus content. To be honest, I just haven't seen a compelling enough
Yeah.
case for me to put any time into it.
So I always say this to people. Premium A plus content is really good because it has a very wide footprint for images. That's a big,
Mhm.
big plus and a big perk. That alone is the reason why someone should do Premium A plus, even if they didn't take care of or take advantage of any other elements. But when people start talking about embedded video and then carousels, to me, those are the two biggest kind of issues because I don't know about you, but I almost never click on videos on Amazon. Like on an Amazon listing, if I'm shopping for a supplement, if I'm shopping for a water bottle, if I'm shopping for headphones, I'm not clicking the video. Unless I'm buying something that's super expensive that I have to put together myself, then I'll probably click the video to see like, geez, can my, Ryobi drill put this thing together, or do I need to call my father-in-law to
Yeah.
come out, you know? So those are the kind of
Yeah.
things I want to look at. But if I'm buying like a cheese puff on Amazon, I'm not watching the video. And the other thing too is the carousel. I always tell people stop making friction to get the sale. If you make people work, they're not going to convert. So if you have a carousel and it's 3 slides, and the first slide only says so much information, but the second and third slide is gold that's going to help you convert the customer. Well, what happens if they never click on slide 2 and slide 3? You're missing the opportunity. You're
Hmm.
expecting them to click. And we've done a lot of good
Yeah.
tests with PickFu where we'll show people, PDPs, we'll show them the A plus content, and we'll do like a heat map click test. And we'll say, where are you looking on this page that's compelling to you? And I can't tell you how many times people just totally miss the little arrow,
Wow.
the carousel, because if you're not doing a good call to action, like scroll this way if you want to learn more.
Hmm.
Everyone's doing this very Apple-esque 2.0, make it look like it's one big image, and then people aren't gonna go with it. But like at Canopy right now, like are you seeing a lot of your partners going with that, or are they sticking with the tried and true standard because they want a lot more crawlable text, they want to just impact it and not have to waste time and energy, or maybe it's not a good fit? Like what have you seen?
So the only brands that either have it or ask for are the ones that are established and been around a long time. Like the sellers that are even within the past year or so, like it's not even something that they have asked for. And I'm in sales, so like I'm the one that sells our listing optimizations and things like that. And premium A plus content has never come up in a conversation with the seller. Not one time. They never asked for it.
And it makes me think, like, do they even know about it? Do they
Yeah.
even care about it? Or see, if you look at like an anatomy of a PDP, an Amazon product detail page, main hero image is the king. Like it all
Hmm.
starts with that. Because if you take a look at, like, I was just talking to Elizabeth Green from Jungler about SERP, right? Are you in a 5 by SERP or are you in a 1 by SERP? Right.
Hmm.
And then optimizing for that. If you're in supplements, you're in a 5 by SERP. So you have a lot more breathing room on the page. But if you're in a 1 by SERP, which is just one column, like electronics, gadgets, and stuff like that, that's your one shot,
Yeah.
your M&M moment, your one opportunity to kind
Yeah.
of understand what people, want from your product and how they're able to convey from that, right? So there's lots of things that people need to do, but I think that focusing on CTR and the main hero image is probably the biggest one, I would say.
100%.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Well, Matt, man, listen, I love having you on, dude. Tell everyone where they can find you, where they can get a hold of you, how they can reach out to you. And I know you had mentioned the new brand. Did you want to say anything about the new brand, or is it Illuminati level kind of hush hush?
Yeah, I mean, I won't tell you the first product yet because it's actually a crazy opportunity on Amazon based on search volume and competitors and that kind of stuff. But I mean, biohackers basically, and again, like when I choose a person, a lot of times I choose me as that person because I understand the consumer. I speak that same language, and like barbecue, for example, I love barbecue. I love cooking. I love eating barbecue. Biohacking, like for me, and I'm starting to like aches and pains are starting to show up that I can't explain, and I start to get tired
Well, I
at the
can
end of the
explain that to
day.
you. You're a new grandpa, man.
That
Congratulations.
is,
Those are the
yes,
aches and
thank you.
pains. You have to biohack now. Now is
Yeah.
the time. Barbecue's over. Now it's time for biohacking.
That's exactly right. So yeah, so that's what the brand is going to be focused on. It's going to be focused on, a 35 to 50-year-old professional male that is looking for ways to get more out of life. So that's kind of what the brand that we're looking at launching, and I'm super excited about it. So I LinkedIn's probably the easiest place. I don't post a whole lot of content there currently. You are my North Star though on being a lot more active on LinkedIn, but probably the best way to get a hold of me on LinkedIn.
Thanks again, man. And guys, if you're watching, pickfu.com. I know Matt just kind of shouted out his LinkedIn, but go check out Canopy too.
Do it.
Canopymanagement.com. Brian Burt's probably watching this. Plus agency.
Hi,
Uh,
Brian.
yeah, he's not slacking. He's really here on the calendar talking to me. But yeah, if you like the video, guys, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Matt. Or wait, hold on. Before you go, Matkins. Someone told me at a show that they refer to you as Matkins.
Yep, that's
So
it.
I'm referring to you as Matkins. So
Yep, I
Matkins
love
over
it.
now.